Joining us on the show this evening is Prasun Joshi, lyricist, well-known lyricist. Dr. Quresh Zorabi, who's a 26/11 survivor. Ms. Leela Ponnappa, former Deputy National Security Advisor, and Mr. Maroof Raza, Strategic Affairs Expert. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the News Hour this evening. Let me begin with you, Mr. Prasun Joshi. The last time around, the entire nation remembers after 26/11, you wrote that poem which touched thousands of hearts. You said, "Ek baar, is baar nahi." Today, we see Mumbai city once again struck by terror. We hear the words of all our leaders saying that this has to be fought. The resilience of Mumbai has to come to the fore all over again. Do you think this resilience is being taken for granted?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't, that time I had so much of anger and frustration in me, and I wrote that, and I felt that we should fester our wounds, and we should let people see it, and let's not go back to work. That's what my feeling was. But it seems that it is becoming part of our lives. It's becoming almost like I feel when you look at anything in India today, it's the coexistence of this contradictions and simultaneously is becoming part of our life, as if is something which is a natural calamity, which is going to happen, and we can't do anything, because there is a helplessness which you sense when I was watching TV and watching people speak about their families who had lost their families. It was a sense of helplessness, as you sense when something, a natural disaster happens. It's not that they were asking for some, and they were expecting something to happen. I could see there is anger, but there is almost, and especially the people who had lost their families, I felt they had this sense of helplessness which you normally see in people when natural disasters happen. And are we becoming completely immune to the fact that this is something which can be handled? This is something which requires strategy, which requires planning, which really requires efforts. It's sad to see political parties having different points of views about something which is such an important thing for our nation. It is sad to see that we can't sit together and have one firm strategy and one firm point of view towards something as important as this, which is happening and happening again. And people are saying, don't cite examples from the United States, that's a different country, why is it a different country? We are seen as a thriving economy. We flaunt our GDP, we flaunt the fact that we are building infrastructure, we are building this, that and the other. Why can't we see our security also parallel to our development? Why can't we see our financial growth also sort of a shame, and in that sense that what is the use of that if to begin with people in the country are not secure? I think these are the questions we need to answer, and I don't even feel like writing anything and repeating the poem which I wrote. I still feel it holds true, but it's sense of what to do, what next, who to go to kind of sense I think I'm sensing from people, and that's what is sort of bottling up in me as well.
Right. Quresh Zorabi, 2.5 years back, a tragic incident happened. You are an eyewitness to that incident, 26/11. It has happened yet again. People say this is resilience of the city, that it rose to the occasion and got back working. Is this resilience or something else?
I don't personally feel, first of all, I feel sorry for the people who have lost their lives, the victims, the families, because today in Mumbai, people consider human lives to be quite cheap. Let's put it like in short. I mean, if this would have to be an overseas country, every individual would have been protected in some way or the other. We may be growing in number. We talk about being the superpower, but where are our systems in place? If there would have been some kind of consistency in the security measures, I don't think we would have been sitting in the studio discussing about another terror attack. As I agree with Prasun Joshi that we are now getting immune to the terror attacks. Just in a decade, or you could say in 10 years, Mumbai has witnessed around 10 blasts already. So on an average, if you just we consider a blast a year. For what? For what reason? I mean, I mean, let's not put the blame on an individual, but yeah, we are right. We have political parties have different views. The thing is, today when Sonia Gandhi and the PM, before coming to the studio, I could see the number of policemen on the streets. If that kind of a measure would have been there in place all the way along, I think today Mumbai would not have witnessed a 13-7 or a 26-11. Post 26-11, yes, we did beef up our security and things were a little better. But where did it go after that? Hotels, there are checks are no more. Malls, you walk in easily. So, you know, we don't have our system in place. We need to rectify that. We can't be sitting here and saying, okay, Mumbai is a resilient, people have to... See, the problem is compulsion. People have to go back the very next day to work because it's a livelihood. You cannot afford to sit back at home and think, okay, there's going to be, you know, there could be a bomb in the train, there could be a bomb in the cab.
And the Prime Minister...
That's the job of the government. We pay taxes to the government. What is the government securing us with?
And the Prime Minister saying that there was no advanced indication this time around.
Come on, I don't personally believe that. Okay, even if there's no intelligence report, but where are our systems? Where are our security forces? Today you go, I live in Colaba, you look at those coastal areas, they're completely unguarded. There could be another 26-11. Let me tell you, don't be shocked if we would be ready for another attack a couple of years down the line.
You know, Maruf, I see you nodding away quite vigorously to what Dr. Zorabi is saying. And that's a question that has been raised right since the time information came in of Mumbai being struck by terror all over again. Has Mumbai really become a soft target?
Well, Maruf, there are several things. I mean, I've been saying since 26/11 that Mumbai too was only round the corner. Unfortunately, one of the biggest enemies of Mumbai sadly is its own success story. Now look at the Prime Minister. He is coming and now telling the people of Mumbai that his prayers are with the people of Mumbai. Instead of the prayers, the people of India and the people of Mumbai want a Prime Minister who is more effective. Instead, he has gone and put a complete closure to the 26/11 investigations where we expected more cooperation from Pakistan, virtually given them a clean sheet, and started the composite dialogue process again when the only handle we had over Pakistan was to isolate them, at least diplomatically, and make them feel and pay the price for being such a nuisance as a neighbor. But the Prime Minister has gone ahead at his own initiative. I don't think he has the entire support of the political community or the Foreign Office or the bureaucracy, but he has stubbornly gone ahead, whatever his personal motivations. You've got Sonia Gandhi coming into Mumbai, and Sonia Gandhi itself has okayed the appointment not just of Vilas Rao Deshmukh, who was earlier Chief Minister of Mumbai and continues to be rehabilitated in every cabinet, but even R.R. Patil, who's back again as Home Minister of Mumbai, and these are the people who should have been held responsible. We have a system, we have Mr. Chidambaram, who has been making grand announcements, statistical announcements and strategy, but on ground very little has been done. Even the projected figures of the government, of the number of policemen that this country requires to be relatively secure, they have not been able to recruit even 1/3 of those numbers. The projected figures, by the way, are 5,40,000 extra policemen over and above what are already in uniform carrying a lathi. But we are doing very little about it. The police expenditure, the GDP of the country, which a percentage of the GDP which should go for security, as Mr. Dorabji has rightly brought out, that, you know, we have to spend more. You want to be a global power, you want to be a financial center, then you've got to invest in your security. You can't take the resilience of people of Mumbai for granted. And every time the attack happens, unfortunately, these lives that have been lost, they are not VVIP lives, so people will forget. Just like the Mumbai train blast, nobody lights candles for them. We are only taken and enamored by larger events, and even the larger events, the advantages we had politically, strategically vis-a-vis Pakistan, we have squandered them away. It is a disaster completely staring at us, and our cities are continuing to be sitting targets because we are so crowded, badly policed, no intelligence. I mean, we are, I'm embarrassed to say that I belong to the same country which otherwise, until yesterday, was claiming to be a military superpower, a nuclear power, and we can't protect our citizens.
Now, Maruf, the BJP leader, LK Advani, today raised a pertinent point saying that it's not a failure of intelligence, a failure of policy. We have Kiran Kher with us. We'll come across to you, ma'am Kiran Kher, in just a short while from now. But on the issue
No,
of policy,
Sanket,
Leela
Sanket,
Leela
can I
Punappa is
just-
joining. I'll come across to
Sanket,
you,
can I
Maruf, in just a
come
short
in here?
while. I'll just come across to you. Miss Leela Punappa, you heard what Maruf Raza said over there. Do you think that it's about time that we invest in a tougher terror law?
We need to invest in all aspects of governmental systems and networks that would be able to deal with this somewhat unprecedented threat that has become a hydra-headed monster over the past few decades. There are no two ways about it. India is a highly under-policed country. We have had the President of India tell Parliament that the Government of India follows a zero terrorism policy. And yet, if you look at the kind of tolerance, for example, that exists with regard to separatists in Kashmir and the kind of activities that they sponsor, to the kind of groups that are allowed to get away with essentially activities that affect the security of individuals and of society, then I think we need to translate that policy into action. Certainly the police need to be better equipped, and I think both the police and the intelligence agencies are in a situation where they are damned if they do and they are damned if they don't. It is high time that as a country we integrated security into our normal way of thinking and practice, which means you do not treat the police as undesirable elements, that the kind of training, that the kind of remuneration and frankly family facilities and so on are provided, whereby a policeman can do a clean and honest job. Starting from that level of an effective beat policeman, you need community participation as well. The government has taken certain steps,
right,
and obviously there is very much more to be done. Today we have far more CCTV coverage in the country, in our mega cities, than we did earlier. But
Ms. Punappa,
I do believe that what is required is the intelligence, the HUMINT, which currently I think is an area of weakness.
Intelligence
It requires our intelligence agencies to work together, to sit together in a control room and take a look at all information that is flowing in. I mean, to say that because there was no intelligence input, therefore there was no intelligence failure, I'm afraid defies logic.
Defies
So
logic,
there is
says
a lot
Leela
more to be
Punappa,
done.
and
It has to be
welcoming on the show
systematically
Kiran
done.
Kher. We'll
Now,
come to you,
the
Ms.
same
Punappa.
people
Yeah.
who today, excuse me, I just have one more point. The same
Yes,
people
go ahead,
who
go ahead.
today make an issue of all that rightly has not been done would also have also in the past questioned the need for a national intelligence grid. Now, the challenge for us as an open society, and this is something that we all cherish, is how do we balance the two? But the bottom line is that we have to integrate security into our normal functioning, and we have to stop providing security on a selective basis. I believe it was one of your speakers who talked of the kind of deployment we have for VIPs.
Right.
It's really a large area where we become our own worst enemies.
Ms. Punappa making very valid points there. Kiran Kher, welcome on the show. I just want to read out a tweet that has come on the News Hour from Calvin Printer, who says that Mumbaikars are tired of being resilient. They now want to be safe. Kiran Kher, you're talking today more as a Mumbaikar, somebody who's lived in the city, than as a politician, I would assume. Do you feel safe in Mumbai?
Well, increasingly less so. I mean, there was a time Mumbai was safe in every sense of the word, but now it is the most vulnerable city. And I'm sorry to say that there is no political will in the government that governs or misgoverns this state for the last 12 years, or the central government. And you cannot just pass it off as intelligent. We had no intelligence. That means that somewhere your policies have been such that you have tied up the hands of all your intelligence agencies. They need to be given more freedom to infiltrate. You have to you have to be able to stop terrorism before it happens. You can't let it happen. You have to be aggressive about stopping it. I mean, there were about, I don't know how many Indian Mujahideen operatives caught in Gujarat 4 years ago. But human rights activists stopped their trials, and till now their trials have not started. How are you going to have a deterrent for terrorism? Terrorism needs a deterrent, and a very strong deterrent. You remove laws like POTA and TADA. You leave us vulnerable. You do not have the NSG here. You have a builder-politician nexus that has towers and towers and malls coming up in areas which are getting more and more over-congested. Yet you can't find a place to house the NSG. You have no kinds of security arrangements in place. You come in after the event has happened. Oh, we are very sorry, and there's a line of people visiting hospitals.